Hi, it's Scott from Woodlake Nature Center again, and this week's creature feature is a continuation of our spring program, and I've got another animal that's kind of related to the frogs that you saw last week, but it lives most of its life in the forest. See if you can find it in this bucket of leaves. He's sitting perfectly still. Do you see it? It's right here. It's another amphibian called a salamander. And salamanders have spots. This is a tiger salamander. The eastern tiger salamander. This is a juvenile one, meaning it's only a couple years old. He'll get much larger, and he still has his yellow spots. As he gets older, his spots will turn a little bit more grayish and get much larger. Now, salamanders are another amphibian. Remember that word from last week? Means double life. So it started from eggs in the water, was a tadpole, except a salamander tadpole has big feathery gills that stick out of its neck, not internal gills like the frog. And then it slowly grows its legs and lungs, and look, it never loses its tail. It uses that tail to help swim because it doesn't have webbed feet like the frogs do. So it lives most of its life then under leaves where it digs in the ground looking for worms and insects. An animal that digs is called a fossorial animal. So the salamander is a fossorial amphibian. Should we put him in water and see how he swims? I'll move this one, move this one over, and you can see him swim. Kind of like an alligator. He can crawl along the bottom, or he can fold his legs up and use his tail. There he goes. Get him to go a little faster. See if I can get him to swim a little faster. There he goes, using that tail. When I was young, I used to find salamanders in my window well every spring. They would climb in there and get caught, and I would use them, have them for pets for a few weeks. Now, the most interesting about a salamander, again, it has that slippery, smooth skin that all amphibians have, except for toads. But what's really fun is to watch them eat. As they dig, oh, here, buddy, stay right over here. I'm going to show you how he could dig and eat a worm. Oh, he tried to get it. There, he's got it. He shakes his head to rip the worm loose from the soil. They don't have teeth. They've got small bony protuberances. Ooh, that's a fun scientific word. Protuberances on their jaw, which feel like sandpaper. So he can hold on to slippery things like worms. He uses the muscles in his tongue and throat to suck the worm in, just like spaghetti. Does that remind you of spaghetti? Now, they can eat insects also, but when they're in the water, sometimes they even eat minnows. A minnow is a small fish. I'm going to hold this one. Let's see if he's interested in eating it. Oh, he snapped at it. Oh, we got the minnow. That's a pretty big meal for him. But they are like small alligators. Remember, they're amphibians, not reptiles. But he acts kind of like an alligator when he's eating his fish. That's a pretty big meal. Of course, here at Wood Lake, we feed them a variety of food, the worm, the minnow. It's all good protein, but each animal has different nutrients in it. So it's a balanced diet, just like you should never eat just one food. You eat fruits and vegetables, meats and grains. A well-balanced diet keeps you healthy. Salamanders and frogs are important in the ecosystem. They are actually a sign of good ecosystem health. If we have frogs and salamanders, we know that there aren't a lot of toxic chemical pollution because they're the first ones to die from toxins in the environment. Remember that smooth skin? They absorb water through their skin, so they absorb any toxins, it will kill them. So salamanders and frogs, amphibians in general, are really great to have. So see if you can find some next time you're out in your yard.
Hi everyone, today we're at Wood Lake and we are reading the story called The Salamander Room by Ann Mazer. Brian found a salamander in the woods. It was a little orange salamander that crawled through the dried leaves of the forest floor. The salamander was warm and cozy in the boy's hand. "Come live with me," Brian said. He took the salamander home. "Where will he sleep?" his mother asked. "I'll make him a salamander bed to sleep in. I'll cover him with leaves that are fresh and green and bring moss that looks like little stars to be a pillow for his head. I'll bring crickets to sing him to sleep and bullfrogs to tell him good night stories. And when he wakes up, where will he play? Oh, I will carpet my room with shiny wet leaves and water them so he can slide around and play. I'll bring tree stumps into my room so he can climb up the bark and sun himself on top, and I will bring boulders that he can creep over. He'll miss his friends in the forest. Oh, I'll bring salamander friends to play with him. They'll be hungry. How will you feed them? Oh, I'll bring insects to live in my room, and every day I'll catch some and feed the salamanders, and I'll make little pools of water on top of the boulders so they can drink whenever they're thirsty. The insects will multiply, and soon there will be bugs and insects everywhere. Oh, I'll find birds to eat the extra bugs and insects, and the bullfrogs will eat them too. Where will the birds and bullfrogs live? Oh, I'll bring trees for the birds to roost in and make ponds for the frogs. Birds need to fly. Oh, we can lift off the ceiling and they'll sail out in the sky, but they'll come back to my room when it's time for dinner because they'll know that the biggest, juiciest insects are there. But the trees, how will they grow? Oh, well, the rain will come through the open roof and the sun too, and vines will creep up the walls of my room and ferns will grow under my bed. There'll be big white mushrooms and moss like little stars growing around the tree stumps that the salamander climbed on. And you, where will you sleep? Oh, I'll sleep on a bed under the stars with the moon shining through the green leaves of the forest. Owls will hoot and crickets will sing, and next to me on the boulder with its head resting on soft moss, the salamander will sleep.